the flight nobody saw coming. The sky above the Philippine Sea burned with the orange haze of war, casting its restless reflection upon the waves below as if the ocean itself mourned the fire that raged above it. It was July 1944, and Lieutenant Marcus Halberd gripped the controls of his F-6F, Hellcat with steady hands forged from loss, duty, and the weight of too many goodbyes. The squadron flew in tight formation behind him, 10 silver-winged guardians slicing through humid air, each man holding his breath as if they knew somehow that this mission would write itself into blood and silence. Marcus had been called many things: Iron Ghost, Lucky Bastard, that mad lieutenant who always came back. He'd survived crashes, engine failure, even a mid-air collision that left half his plane in flames, but never missed a single target. He wasn't the loudest or the bravest, just the one who flew straight into fire with a look that said, "Someone has to." Tucked beneath his seat, wrapped in oilcloth and prayer, was a folded photo of Clara, the army nurse who had patched up his wounds and left a scar deeper than any shrapnel ever could. He hadn't promised to return to her. No soldier did. But when he looked at her face in that photo, calm and softly lit from the hospital window, he remembered why he kept flying. Today's mission was simple on paper: locate and destroy an enemy radio tower hidden on the cliffs of a remote Japanese-held island. But Marcus knew better. There was no simple. At 10,000 feet, with flak bursting like thunderflowers in the sky and death waiting with open arms in the jungle below. As the coastline appeared, rugged and thick with shadows, Marcus lowered his oxygen mask, steadied his breath, and spoke into the radio with a calm no one could teach. "Eyes up, boys. Hell's just over the horizon. Part 2, the hit that broke the sky." They came in fast, wings tipped toward the jungle cliffs like falcons diving for prey. Below them, the dense green canopy rippled with movement, camouflaged bunkers, hidden gun nests, and the jagged silhouette of the radio tower rising, like a black tooth from the earth. The moment the Hellcats descended, the world erupted. Flak cannons belched fire from unseen holes in the jungle, filling the air with black blossoms of smoke that tore holes through the sky itself. Tracers streaked upward in red arcs, screaming warnings meant to kill. Marcus was at the front, pulling his Hellcat into a controlled dive. The nose aimed squarely at the tower. His wingmen followed his lead, trusting him blindly like they always did. And then it happened. A burst of flak, perfectly timed and perfectly placed, tore into his left wing. The impact was like being punched by a god. His plane jerked sideways, spinning once, twice, and smoke began pouring from the engine like blood from an open wound. Inside the cockpit, alarms screamed. Fire licked the edges of the control panel. But Marcus didn't panic. He gritted his teeth, wrestled the yoke back into place, and steadied the bird. His vision blurred, but not from fear, from pain. Shrapnel had ripped through his shoulder, and the warmth soaking his flight suit wasn't sweat. Still, he forced the plane level, skimming the treetops. Around him, the battle raged, Hellcats unleashing streams of machine gun fire, bombs tumbling into the jungle, explosions lighting the earth like sunrise. His voice, somehow steady, crackled through the radio. "Stay on target. Keep your eyes forward. We finish this." And then, with one hand on the throttle and the other clenching, a blood-slick photo of Clara, Marcus pulled up just enough to avoid the trees and aimed straight for the sea. Part 3, the final call. The engine coughed smoke like a dying beast, and Marcus knew he was running out of sky. Every control stick movement was slower now, heavier, like the Hellcat itself understood that this was the end. Flames licked at the cockpit's edge, and smoke poured in through the vents, stinging his eyes, choking his breath. Below him stretched the endless Pacific, calm and cruel, waiting to swallow him whole. But Marcus had one more duty to fulfill. Through the static of his battered radio, he switched to the emergency command channel. His voice came low at first, raw with pain, then steadier as he focused every last bit of strength into the words. "This is Lieutenant Halberd. Iron Ghost. Aircraft crippled. Coordinates marked. Enemy outpost still active. Request immediate strike. I repeat, strike now. Don't wait for me." Silence followed. For one suspended moment, it felt like time itself held its breath. Then came the reply, gravel-voiced. Urgent, shaken. We copy, Iron Ghost. Coordinates received. All units, prepare final sweep. A surge of pride flooded through Marcus's battered body. His men were still out there, still alive, and now they would finish what they came for. With trembling hands, he released the last flare, red smoke hissing into the sky to mark his position. Not for rescue, not for hope, for vengeance. As the plane finally gave out and dipped toward the waves, Marcus didn't close his eyes. He looked at Clara's photo one last time, pressed it to his chest and whispered, "Tell them I aim true." Then the Hellcat kissed the ocean, a flash of fire against the sea, and the radio fell silent, forever carrying his voice into the deep. Part 4, Into the Deep Blue Grave. The impact shattered the ocean surface with a thunderclap, metal and fire meeting, water in an explosion of steam and silence. For a moment, the Hellcat skidded across the waves like a wounded bird, its fuselage groaning before it broke apart and began to sink, swallowed slowly by the unforgiving Pacific. Inside, Lieutenant Marcus Halberd drifted in a haze between consciousness and the black. Cold water rushed in around him, filling the cockpit like a grave. His leg was pinned beneath twisted steel, and blood swirled through the rising water like smoke in a dying fire. But even in that crushing quiet, he was not afraid. The fear had left him with the last call. What remained was a solemn peace, the kind only known by those who had done what needed to be done. He fumbled weakly for the photo that floated near his hand, Clara's face still smiling despite the salt and the dark. Bubbles escaped his mouth as he held it to his heart, the weight of the sea pulling him further down, deeper into the blue. Above, the sky cracked again as the final wave of American fighters tore through the clouds, guided by the coordinates Marcus had given with his last breath. Explosions lit the cliffs. The jungle burned. The radio tower collapsed into rubble, and in that blazing justice, his sacrifice lived on. No trace of Marcus surfaced that day. No parachute, no body, only the silence of the sea, the rippling red smoke of his flare, still drifting in the breeze, and the haunting memory of a man who fell not in fear, but with purpose. A man who didn't just crash, but aimed. Part 5, The Legacy That Echoed. 2 weeks later, long after the guns had fallen silent and the jungle had stopped burning, a battered fishing boat drifted into a navy outpost off the coast of Leyte. On board was an old Filipino fisherman, his hands calloused, his eyes downcast, but in his palms, he held something that made hardened sailors weep. It was a torn flight jacket soaked in salt, the name M. Halberd still faintly visible on the collar. Wrapped inside it, a rusted dog tag, a scorched photo of a young woman smiling from a hospital cot, and a cracked flare canister, its red paint smeared by blood. The fisherman said he had seen the plane fall from the sky like a dying star. He had paddled out in the days that followed, hoping, perhaps foolishly, to find something. What he found, half submerged in coral, was a cockpit twisted like a coffin. No body. Only these pieces, caught in the wreckage, like relics refusing to be forgotten. News reached Clara weeks later, delivered not with fanfare, but in a plain envelope, one that carried no words, only the photo and the tag. She sat alone in the quiet of the infirmary, the photo trembling in her hands, tears tracing lines down her cheeks. But she did not sob. She smiled. Because Marcus had kept his promise, even if he never spoke it. He had aimed true. Years passed. The war ended. The world moved on. But in the halls of the Navy Flight School, there's a framed photo, scorched, faded, of a nurse and a pilot. Below it, etched into brass, are the words, "He didn't fall. He chose." And somewhere deep in the Pacific, the sea still carries his name, like a whisper, forever echoing through the silence he left behind.